we need to look again at the heritage of the second half of Islamic civilization, where various modules were developed in society. In early Islam, people wanted to study hadith or fiqh. They just went along to the nearest mosque and asked the imam. Somebody was sitting there, they taught it. There wasn't a need for any particular organization for doing that. And then the madrasas emerged 4 or 5 centuries into our history. And then other places, and then more subtle networks of people whose single unifying principle was that they were uneasy about the bazaar, about the workplace, about the concessions that they needed to make in order to be part of society. And they wanted an alternative network. And the guilds were one of them. So that in the Ottoman Empire, if you were a tanner, which was really a kind of low-caste occupation, you could travel from Albania to the east of Anatolia, just staying at the various lodges of the tanners' guilds, and the Akhi Baba would look after you, and that was your network. They were your people. You were part of the Ummah of Islam, you were a Bosnian or a Kurd or whatever, but you had this other affiliation as well that was extraordinarily important to you and provided social support. In the midst of the hurly-burly and the competition and the frequent bad behavior and moral shortcuts characteristic of the bazaar, those organizations would look out for you and would also punish you and watch over you. In the traditional bazaar in the Ottoman Empire, in Sarajevo for instance, if you wanted to have a shop in the bazaar, you had to belong to one of the asnaf, to one of the guilds. You couldn't just trot in one fine day and open a Burger King franchise, as they've just done next to Ayub Sultan. You had to be recognized as a representative of one of the established guilds that were themselves sacred institutions with their own formulas of dhikr, and the 7 years of becoming an apprentice were kind of initiatory chain, and you were allied to a particular prophet or a particular saint, and it was a form of initiation. That if you had a shop in the bazaar in Sarajevo or Tirana or Sofia or wherever, you were a member of a guild, and the guild would look out for you if you went bankrupt, or if your children were sick, or if you were old, you suffered from dementia or whatever. The guild would always be there to help you. Similarly, if you messed up morally, the guild would be there to punish you. So if, for instance, you were found guilty of overcharging to somebody who was strange to the town or to the bazaar and didn't know the correct price, that was regarded as one of the worst things you could do, a breach of the Futuwet code of the guilds. Along would come the local head of the guild, reprimand you, and he had a piece of cloth with Quranic verses written on it, and he would place this cloth over the things that you were selling in your shop, and he would recite a dua. And you would have to sit there in your shop with the door open, without any customers, for as long as the head of the guild thought that you deserved to sit there for having committed the crime of overcharging a stranger. And then he would come along with his assistants, and he would make a dua, and he would take the cloth back to his place, and it was business as usual. Well, it's not like that nowadays, I'm afraid, in the shopping mall or even in the covered bazaar in Istanbul. It's dog eat dog in our capitalistic world. That idea of the bazaar as a place of sacred discipline is very far from our conception. But this is how Muslim civilization used to be. That's the principle of sacrality, even in the place of the souk, which is, according to a hadith, the most disagreeable of places to Allah. You go out of the Blue Mosque in Istanbul and the big calligraphy says, Al-Kasib Habibullah, the one who earns an honourable living is beloved to Allah. That too is a place of ibadah. So we need, and this really is my parting thought, we need to create professional associations, guilds is perhaps an obsolete term, that can help new graduates in medicine, for instance, or in engineering, or in accountancy, who are Muslims and they've been active in the Islamic society in their local university, whatever, and they're keen to do something for Islam, and they're now in this extremely pressurized, modern, profane environment, can help them to explore, with like-minded people, practices and habits of mind, forms of behavior that can enable their careers to be places of spiritual advancement. We haven't yet done that. There is an Islamic Medical Association and other such things, but they don't really conceive of themselves as workshops, as crucibles for spiritual improvement.